is derived from the leaves of the coca plant. When cocaine enters the body, it has a strong effect on body functions by acting as an irritant on the brain. Large overdose of cocaine causes convulsions, then death. Cocaine causes unusual and often unpredictable feelings and actions. In his ignorance, Marty took that dare, little knowing the eventual horror that lay in the deadly white powder.
Marty, have you seen the painting chairs I bought last week? Can't seem to find them anywhere. Marty, you don't seem right. I'm worried about you. There's something wrong. I'm going to take you down to Dr. Richard this afternoon for a checkup.
No, I'm all right.
As his body gradually built up intolerance, he needed more and more of the drug.
Hello. Oh my goodness, Mike, I made sure that we were muted this time during the music. So I re-listened to the show from last week. And yep, you can hear our whole conversation. You really had to turn it up though. Right. But it was, luckily we didn't say anything we weren't talking smack. Uh-huh. Oh, I'm so excited. These are like my favorite shows, these special monthly editions. I have 2 running now. This one with the steps, and we're going through the Women's Way book, which I also like now that you've incorporated a men's way through them. Men versus women. No, just kidding. Honestly, what we talk about can really go either way. And then the other one I do is the risky relationships. I don't know if you caught the one last week. Okay. Ooh, that was a heavy one. But it was my week, so I felt it was heavy. But luckily, Sarah, my co-host, she's on point. She kept it relatable, not dramatic. So welcome. If you're listening for the first time, we're live. K.I.S.S Recovery 101. Keep it simple, stupid. And this is the 3rd month of the year. So we're on step 3 tonight. And this is what they'd like to say is the first action. You're actually doing something step. The other 2 are more like, it's in your mind and within yourself. And this is the one that now there's some action that can be taken. But I'm going to read the intro and I'm going to open up the comments. So listeners, if you have questions, I definitely want comments, insights, viewpoints, especially with what I say or you say somebody doesn't agree with, Right, yeah. Like that's when we can have a dialogue. I'm not saying debate. I want to have a dialogue about it. Sure. That's how I learn is when someone does have a different viewpoint. I love those conversations. That's like a challenge for me. Whether, I agree or disagree, I'm learning something.
Well, it's a different perspective, right?
Get it, that Mike. Mike, get it. Oh, yes. Well, welcome, Mike. My co-host. I hope you stick it out the whole year. We're going through all 12. Mm-hmm. So it's a year you got stuck with me. But you want to just say hello and just, why don't you check in with everybody? Tell everybody where you've been at, how you've been at this last month. Okay. You feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Get on there.
Yeah, hey, I'm Mike. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Thanks again for having me on, Bridge. They're a lot of fun, and I'll definitely stick out the entire set of the steps here for sure. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a lot of fun. I don't know. I'm in a pretty good place. We actually had the K.I.S.S 1-year banquet last night, and that was just a very joy-filled night. As I was sharing earlier, last year I had to share at that, and I was so full of anxiety and terrified that I ate like half of a dinner roll. Just about starved to death by the end of the night. But No, it was such a beautiful thing seeing people get recognized up there and seeing people that are fighting so hard, in that sobriety war zone still, that first year or whatnot, and so much to be figured out and so much to be, just to survive at times, so. But no, I'm doing really well. I'm really tired of this white stuff that keeps falling out of the sky, but I think that's a pretty common feeling right now. So just doing my best with that. So
You know what? I am always just a person. Let me tell you, I come from a different breed. I don't know, but I'm more fond of the snow now. Here's the thing. Have you read? Okay, there's this book called Atomic Habits, and how you build new habits is really just by stacking them on ones you already do anyway. So I felt I hate exercise, Mike. That is not my jam at all. However, because it's been snowing so much, every time I go outside to let the dog out or whatever, I'm shoveling. Okay, and so probably over shoveling. I can make a new pass for the dog, or it's just silly. But I'm enjoying it, and I've been doing a lot of research, especially on changing the brain and making these habits. It's really hard for me to. Well, we're human beings, and we're not creatures of change. And so, another thing that has been pointed out is, even if you just do 2 minutes, it says walking for 2 minutes or whatever, just those little things that you do each day does make a difference. And the other thing I do is make a point to, early as I get up, get the sun in my eyeballs. Okay, I don't stare directly at the sun, but as closely as I can. That first, because it resets something within your body, our normal body schedule to get up. And so, yeah, so I do. I feel like I'm getting more into that morning full energy through the day, and at night now I'm ready for rest. Where before at night I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go another round, because that was my me time finally. Okay, but let's get into it. So if you saw the post, step 3, we're in March here. This is the first action step in the AA program. How can one, in quotes, surrender and truly let go? This is where we transform a desire for recovery into a decision to surrender. But what if you've been submissive or had to surrender in negative, abusive ways so many times before or in your past? This step demands that we demonstrate understanding of the steps 1 and 2 by putting them into practice each day. And so for me, this was hard. This was a struggle for me, because I did have, in my childhood, I've come from situations where, well, now I'm a survivor, but when I was controlled my whole life, like to the minute of my life, I felt like I was in prison. And so for me, having what I felt was like my control, I later learned through the program that that's an illusion, but it made me feel safe. So I coming into this, this program with all these people I didn't know, and they want me to, give control to the thing. It just, for me, it was very conflicting. And so if you have the book, it's A Woman's Way Through the 12 Steps, Stephanie Covington. We're going to hit on step 3. You want to tell everybody what step 3 is?
What is it?
Oh, it's right here.
Oh, yeah. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him.
So what did you think about that when you first heard it, Mike?
I didn't like it, to be honest. With my previous, religious introduction and whatnot, I don't know. The thing is, too, like I had used the higher power that I was told to believe in as a young person is actually more of a scapegoat for all of the consequences of my decisions. I couldn't look at it any other way than, if he was this all powerful, almighty Lord Almighty, he kept all these bad things from happening to me. So I had a resentment towards towards the Lord Almighty there. Thing is, too, like I get I just want to touch on the word God too. So many people when they talk about their higher power and who they call God or whatnot, like God is obviously more often attached to a Christianity belief because that's such a common belief amongst people, and especially in the Midwest and whatnot and our demographics. But like every different culture and nationality and whatnot has different gods out there, so like when people say like, yeah, I choose God as my higher power, and sometimes I want to be like, well, which one?
Yeah. There you go. That's beautiful. Buddha, Allah. Yeah, it's more of a Western thing. But for me, I was so conflicted with the God word because how I grew up, they were sending me off to Bible school and I was coming home being molested. So I did not like anything associated with the Bible or God. Okay. So I've come a long way. So I remember going to a meeting, someone's like, oh, it's a good orderly direction. I changed it to guide of direction. You can whatever. The point is to make it your own, until you find that. Yeah. And so especially first time going through the steps is just finding a power greater than yourself. It doesn't have to be this holy vow thing. It literally can be a meeting. You feel a power in there. There's something in there that, at least for me anyway, it was that one meeting where I didn't hate myself anymore. I've started to feel I could start letting my walls down, and it became this, I wouldn't say joy, but it became something I looked forward to. And it was powerful to me. I mean, that was at my lowest of lows. Okay. But I definitely always had a higher power, universe or spirit guide, creator that I've connected with, even amongst, church and all that. Church, I feel, is inside us. It could be inside us and everywhere. So, okay, but let me get into it. So, when we admit our powerlessness over our addiction, and again, addiction has many different faces. Okay, shopping, food, chocolate. Okay, not just drugs and alcohol. We learn an important truth. There are some things in our lives we simply can't control. Many things, I would say. We weren't always in control of what we did to satisfy our cravings or how we behaved on a binge. It can be a humbling and scary experience to see how little control we may have over some of our behaviors. So besides our addictions, there are many more things that we can't control. And although we may try to get things to go our way, other people will continue to do what they want, and situations don't always go in our favor. This can leave us feeling frustrated, angry, and resentful. And I like to say resentments are they're premeditated expectations. So that shows up everywhere. So I try not to have expectations at the get-go.
Expectations
Oh.
and hopes high.
Facebook user says, I like this guy. Okay, Mike, I'm gonna hand over the microphone to you. But I definitely have, so as a woman, this is from the book, by the way, but I definitely align with a lot of things said in here. We try to control in various ways. Many of us use helplessness or dishonesty or guilt to get the results we want, or we can try to fix or take care of things, even if no one needs our help. Or we may try to maintain controlling by bullying or threatening others into cooperating with us. We might use these tactics deliberately, but not maliciously. When we want to control or fix or influence a situation, it is often because we're frightened and anxious. We may be trying to avoid feeling completely powerless. It's depressing to feel that we always have to submit to someone else's demands, or that life is leading us in directions we don't want to go. The problem is that we can't get caught up in the struggle of trying to control things that we can't. And so step 3 tells us that we can let go of our burden. And so when we let go of something, or someone else can, when we let go, something or someone else can take over. Now we can be free to live with new, creative, beautiful, loving, supportive energy. What do you think of that, Mike?
I love it.
Okay. I see you got your book open. Is this something you want to read out of there?
Yeah. Well, so the thing is like step 3 is like almost compounded a few times over, right? Because I mean, there's always the quandary of what's your higher power? What does God look like, right? And so like I like to break that down in like both literal and figurative. So like most people, God is a deity, right? Something you'll never see. It's one of your imaginary friends, like to jokingly refer to it as, right? When I'm praying to my imaginary friends, on the literal sense, though, absolutely, like the rooms, that's a much higher power than I am, power greater than myself, right? A whole group of people talking about getting better and trying to make themselves, trying to find change, and trying to live. It's the acronyms, a group of drunks or a group of druggies.
I don't like that one either.
Good orderly direction, or I love those, because absolutely the thing is too, what I've come to find out in these rooms too is that like I feel like if my higher power is going to speak to me, it's going to be through somebody else in one of these rooms. And when I actually shut up and listen, not sit there and think about what I'm going to say next or whatever, and actually hear people and what they're saying, I think that's where my higher power shows up the most often. You know, so like on a literal sense, yeah, showing up to the rooms, the program itself, look at how big and powerful that is and how it's withstood the test of time. So like if you need to have a literal sense of a higher power, grab onto that, you know, whatever it takes to get started. But,
Okay, and I wanted to point out something that I remember now that you just said that reminded me of this. So in the beginning, like I would hear things. I would call them, now I call them aha moments, but I would hear something somebody would say and be like, wow, I really connect with that. Or I get goosebumps or just feel like, oh, finally something I agree with.
right.
But for years, I would leave it there, you know, and over time, forget it, you know. I remember the dirtiness in me when I got out of treatment, like the third time, I started bringing a pencil with me. Well, I had a big book at the time. I would underline things, I would highlight things, I would write notes. Now I just carry a little notebook with me everywhere I go because I do forget things. But anytime I hear something that for whatever reason stuck out to me or hit me or I just want to process later, I write it down. And that has been essential for me, especially coming back, especially when I have the same books that I've been using, like this one. Look at this is a mess, but it's my mess.
It's not a mess.
But I love like rereading the things that I underlined. And what's cool too is like highlighting different colors. I can see where I was at that time. But I love getting those things from other people, especially if they say exactly the same thing I've been hearing, but in a different way. I'm like, whoa.
It a little differently, right?
Yeah. And so step 3, now when I've done these workshops with the back to basics, I like the cliff notes. I actually had little cards of the cliff note versions of my view anyway, of each step. And step 3 for me to really make it simple was let go. And someone actually I think in this room or in this building gave me a little card that said, it was like you started your day in the morning where it said, good morning, this is, you know, your God or whatever. I will be handling all your problems today. I will not need your help. So go ahead and have a good day. Honestly, I don't know why, but I really liked the idea of that because I had so much heavy stuff going on that literally reading that for me, my higher power, I started to believe like, okay, you get my heavy shit and I'm just going to focus on today, right? 24 hours. I'm going to focus. Literally, sometimes it was hour to hour. I'm just going to focus on me because I put faith in that power that as long as I'm doing in my heart what I know is right and for the right reasons, my higher power is going to take care of me, you know? And honestly, that's when stuff started to fall into place. I just focused on me and what I could do. And what I love about step 3 is there's a step 3 prayer. Again, I don't like prayer. I don't like Bible. I don't like anything about that. Yeah. And back to basics. And actually in Women's Way, we're going to talk about too, is rewrite that so that it connects and you connect with it. But for me, at the end of the night, especially, making, it wasn't a prayer for me. Really like a check-in. It was like a meditation almost. But and I'll share mine later. I don't know if you have how you reread it, but because thou, I had to change all that. But really being able to look at my day, and some days, it was so hard, just pointing out one thing that went right or didn't go awry, or that at least I accomplished, or any one little seed, because I was in such a dark place, but one little seed of, okay, that wasn't bad, So, but that letting go is, again, having a power greater than you. Does not have to be this big universe higher being. It could be a sponsor, a mentor, a guide, one thing that, gives you a sense of, for me, it was like a sense of comfort that I wasn't alone, because I was alone in this thing for a long time too. Okay, Mike, continue.
Yeah.
You're the good one.
No, so what I was saying, like the whole higher power, right? A literal or a figurative one. The thing is, so obviously literal, things that you can see, you can touch, people you can talk to, being in the rooms, things of that nature. But for me too, like I've expanded that higher power, and it can be as vast as you want it to be, right? Like I love a lot of Native American beliefs about spirituality and the Great Spirit. I love that so much, and Mother Earth, right? I mean, she feeds us and sustains us. And the Lord Almighty and the Christian beliefs, the Lord All-Knowing and the Norse beliefs. I mean, there's all kinds of ones out there, and it's awesome to learn about that stuff too. And kind of like what you were saying with the third step prayer. So yeah, and right in the step 3, to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as as we understand them, which is imperative. But I like to think of will as desire. Right. So like in the terrible D's, so defects, desires, and difficulties, right? So in that third step prayer, it asks to be relieved of our difficulties. And I rewrote that to ask for relief from my defects and my desires, because those are two things that I'll constantly need help with, right? My will, my control. I want this, I want that, I'm gonna act this way. And that's the thing too, with that we're way ahead of ourselves in that sixth step or whatever. But like doing that gave me the awareness of all the defects that I have. It didn't relieve me of any of them. 7 sharing them or whatever still didn't make them go away. I still am who I am, and I'm going to constantly have to work on that, right? But yeah, that's how I turn that third step prayer around in the morning for me. It's every morning I ask for relief from my defects, or my defect, my desires. And there's a book, it's Letting Go, the Pathway to Surrender. It's Dr. David Hawkins, I think it's one that writes it, but he talks about how the basis of all human grief is desire and attachment. And like, if you think about it, I mean, it's pretty valid. The thing is too, though, it's like, you're not going to go through life without any attachment. You're going to love people, your family, your close friends, things like that. And attachment is what makes us human, right? Because we also have to grieve as well. But the desire piece of it is,
I conflict with that. Okay, because I think there's desires.
Yeah.
Like for me, immediately, I'm thinking, I don't know, definitely in my headspace now where I'm at today, the desires are different. But my desires, for me, kind of, I would think of passions, like things that I desire. Like I'm desiring I have goals, I'm desiring to accomplish things. I'm desiring to have meaningful relationships with my friends and roommates. And so I think there's good desires and there's bad desires. So saying desires is kind of almost vague because it could be. So I think you'd have to put a word in. Not helpful to you desires. Okay, that was like 3 words. Ooh, Faces of Sobers on. Hey. Thanks again for an awesome interview today. It's Kenneth. He wrote a book, 12 Faces. Oh, I gotta get you a copy.
Okay.
I got a copy today. It's amazing. And the 12 is not the 12 steps, Mike. It's 12 years he was in prison at 12 times, or he was 12 years old when he first had his drink. And one of the things, the faces. Okay, I loved what he shared. Faces. How I think this is okay. Maybe sorry, Kenny. Let me know if I say this wrong. But like when I was in treatment, or anytime I went to the hospital, I went to the hospital multiple times. They show you the faces of emotions, and you had to pick one of how you're feeling. Ugh. Well, he talked about how like when he would go to group or treatment, you'd have to whatever face is where you're at, and sometimes it's happy or bad or whatever. But I love that because I actually in my head, when he said that, I think of the faces of the rooms. Like especially my Monday night group. I love when I go to new meetings or there's a bunch of men in meetings. I don't even look at their faces. I'm gonna try to get no looks. But those women, I'm not staring at anybody. But I could see in their face, their share maybe doesn't always correlate with their face or body language. And so actually last week, I pulled a couple aside just to have that meeting after the meeting, right? And it was wonderful. Sometimes my instincts are off, or sometimes my whatever judgments are off. But one of them, she called me that night or texted me that night, and ding, it took me just reiterating actually what she shared. I'm not naming her name. It's still powerful to me. This is one of those things I had to process later just based on what she shared, but making a point to say when things aren't going well, especially if you have a partner, instead of, trying to make it work, or just to be honest and say, I'm not fine. At first we joked, it was like, oh, fuck, never rational, neurotic or emotional. But seriously, when she said that, even now, it's like this wave of power for me to just put your mask down. It's okay, and maybe you could be worried it'll hurt somebody's feelings or put them on defense. But all I reiterated to her was what you said, just how you said those words, simple. Just flat out say to your partner, you know what, honey, whatever you say to your married partners these days, babe. Okay, it was babe. Babe, I have to tell you something. Like, for real, I'm not fine. I'm using that. I've been using that lately, because that started like an engagement in a really deep, good conversation. And luckily it was a positive, like solution at the end of that conversation. And that he had no idea, because as a woman, as a caretaker, her and the kids and everything going on, and her own struggles, she's just, oh, it's fine. I'm fine. It's okay. It's like, but after a while, I love that she came to that meeting with us and said, you know what? I'm not fine. I guarantee half the room was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not fine either. You know, that's the realness. Oh, and hopefully my alarms are still on. One last thing though, especially in the post, here's what really stood out to me. I love the women's way. Submission. So if you're on page 47, I love how each chapter breaks down each there's paragraphs for each like subject, but this subject line is submission and surrender. Some women object to the language of the third step, entrusting our lives to the care of God as we understood him may seem like giving everything away. It seems to suggest we'll be rescued by a male authority who will take care of us as long as we are well behaved. Oh, that already gets me riled up. Gosh. But the big book says we had a new employer, being all powerful. He provided what we needed if we kept close to him and performed his work well. This image of a dominating father figure is very difficult for some women to accept. This step may appear to imply submission, but there's a difference between submission and surrender. When we submit, we're giving in to a force that's trying to control us. But when we surrender, we let go of our need to control. Step 3 asks us to surrender, not submit. And I loved that. And that's another thing. Father, yeah, I did not have a great relationship and not even a good relationship with my adopted father. And I didn't even know my birth father till like last summer.
Right. Yeah.
I still don't know him, but you know, I know of him.
You met him.
But father, him, you know, I got to behave, do what I told. Like all those things are like when I escaped my prison, it was a home, a house of horrors. I never wanted to feel that way again. And so I'm walking into these rooms, and then most of them at that time, 17 years ago, I'm getting old, like, we're all men. And so here's all these men say these things to me. I ran for the door, And so it is a different world. And there are beautiful books like this, and there are beautiful women's beings, but not all men are like that. I've met some really great men. You're sitting right here. That really understand and want to understand and are open to those conversations, but just you naturally have this heart that, you're not going to, I know I've never heard you ever come at me like you're controlling and this is the way you got to do it. You're always open, Sorry, you look like you want to talk.
No, I don't know.
Okay. Do you want to read the step 3 prayer? Because part of the workshop that we do with Back to Basics, I've rewritten mine so many times I want to share mine.
Yeah,
but
2 years.
Share okay. So yeah, another thing about like step 3 in the AA Big Book is they're all about I love the serenity prayer, but again, look at it's tattooed on my arm, but I don't have the word God on there, do I? Yeah, that's right. There's a reason. I'm still waiting to see what I want to put there. Okay. Well, nope. If we don't have the example, it's on page 63 in the big book. If we've had that, but maybe later, maybe after the clip. But I'll share mine. I love mine because the point of rewriting it is so that it's not lip service. You're actually saying doing it.
Right, and it means something to you.
Yes, yeah. And even mine. Okay, because I do it every night. Sometimes it does become a blur, and I realize I'm just going through the motions of becoming that zombie. I'm going to the Matrix. So I'm like, oh, okay, back up. Let's check in here for real. But mine says, Great Spirit, today allow me to be the best version of myself and follow my intended journey. Remove my prejudgments and defenses, not defects. Yeah. That's another word that this book helped me change and make my own. Remove my prejudgments and defenses so that I can learn the new lessons. I wish to be of service and useful to my full potential as that is meant to be. That I still like, thy will be done. Thy will be done. You know why? Because I've been in situations. That's all I could remember in the beginning. Like in the car, I remember just, thy will be done. Thy will be done. Thy will be done. Yes. Because I cannot do it today. Okay. So we don't have our standard hot seat. Okay. That is our typical at this time, 8:30 here. We typically do 3 hot and heavy questions. What's nice though is I do want to pull a heavier question for both of us to answer that actually, so the Women's Way actually has a workbook, which is really dope. And Some of the questions are like repetitive, but just reworded a different way, a little redundant, but especially later on going through it again, it's kind of good because then I've actually been able to really do some work on myself. I've been able to um those rewordings of like, oh, I could answer just a little bit differently and think about it a little more thoroughly. Okay, so there's the hot sound. So, Mike, now you've been sponsoring, right? You don't have to give me the numbers or anything, but when you're sitting down and you're doing this step, even for yourself, but when you're going through it with someone you're mentoring, what advice do you give, or how do you, what do you set them into action? So what I do, or I change it up with each fussy. Let me tell you, everybody's on their own individual path. Okay, I know. What I like to do, especially for me, I was in court. I was fighting CPS. I was fighting my ex's girlfriend. I was still full-time job. I was in DBT and treatment. I had a lot going on. Okay, so at the end of the night, again, those particular things that I was carrying around and heavy, especially when it came to my babies that were in my home, it was really, really hard to push through another day. And so I have my sponsees. I created a let go box. Actually, Women's Way has you create. It's called a God box, but you can change that to a goddess box. Actually, she says that the blue, or I like to call it a let go box. So those really heavy things that I know. Well, my therapist at DBT taught me, why do you stay up at night when you can't do anything in your bed that moment, right? So especially if I'm still, the hamster wheel's going and I can't let it go.
Directionless thoughts all night.
Yeah. Like there's those things where I know it's the past. There's nothing I can do about that. But those things that are coming up in the future, okay, I would write them down. I have them write it down where it's heavy. That at least in this moment, you're writing it down. Again, writing things down makes your brain process in a different way. Write it down, whatever you need to process, and put it in that box. The nice thing is, it's sitting there, it's there. Okay. So you're not going to forget about it. I don't have to keep thinking about it until I'm ready, or the next therapy appointment or the next meeting or the next check-in with my sponsor. It's a great way. And when I started to really see the progress, whether I felt it or not, other people see it, but where I could finally see it for myself, that tangible box, I started to forget about those papers. It was wonderful. Like, I don't even have to have a box anymore. I just journal and whatever. But I finally didn't need to start taking things out of those boxes. I could leave those. I want to say burn them. No, just kidding. I actually passed on my box. Yeah. But it was a great way to really tangibly, in reality, let go. Okay. Anything else on step 3 before we play the clip?
Sure. Yeah. So, what were we saying? Oh, yeah. So the language too, and what you're speaking to, the him when it talks about this higher power, they definitely could do a much better job of changing up some of that language to be a little bit more gender ambiguous. Like it doesn't have to be him. Like I was kind of saying earlier, there's so many different ideas and ideologies of like what a higher power needs to be or what can be. When you're talking about the sponsor thing too, it's I haven't had a ton of luck with sponsees, to be honest. The last guy I was working with, this is the only program I know. I feel like I know it pretty well. I've been living it for almost 5 years now, but the thing is that whole connection to a spirituality and a power greater than ourselves is indispensable. It's through and through the book, and it's through and through the program, and it's absolutely indispensable if I want to have any quality of living as well. And the last guy I was working with is that he would refuse to have anything other than, knowledge and whatnot. And I mean, I don't know how many times it says in the book that, self-knowledge and willpower were never enough. John Barleycorn was our best advocate or whatnot, and it even says in this step, made a decision, so you're choosing to change your frame of mind, you're changing your perspective. And that's huge, right? Like you said, it's the first action step as we get into this. So the thing is, if you're not willing to look at things differently, if you're not willing to try to change anything at all, then you're going to be fighting yourself all the way through, right? Your old way of thinking got you here.
It didn't work for a reason.
Right. Yeah. There's a reason we're here. Right. And so that was the thing I had to tell him. I said, until you're willing to make a decision to believe in a power greater than yourselves, I don't know that I can really help you.
Yes. Be willing.
Right,
Make a decision.
yeah.
I'm going to be willing.
Right.
to
And
really
that's
try.
the thing. I felt a little bad because, then he snapped at me and it's not a decision, and I said, well, it's fine.
It's a will.
Right. The thing is, if you want to talk about analytical and causes and effects and whatnot, like now I'm in engineering. So like, obviously, yeah, I know like this causes that causes that. And I understand all of the logic behind those types of things, but there's some things that are going to be unexplained.
Mhm.
Some things you're going to need help with, and that's the whole point of the higher power too, is you can connect to that anytime or every time, whenever you're having these difficulties and things that you need to work through, so that it really kind of broke my heart a bit because I tried and and then you go back out and, hey, what did we do wrong? And you blah, blah, blah. Why don't you try praying? Just try praying and see if you feel any differently. See if that helps, open any doors.
Do the action.
Right. That's the thing. You can act your way into a new way of thinking, or you can think your way into a new way of acting. Right. So like, that's that was really tough for me. And the thing is, like I totally empathize too, because like I said early on, I didn't have a good higher power. I was looking for all kinds of different ones and anything I could find. But the other thing I found more so lately that I like to kind of say sometimes is that, they talk about it. What is it? Seeing is believing when they're talking about like miracles and things like that. Right.
Mhm.
But I like to think that believing is seeing, all the little miracles and all the little blessings and the gratefuls and all the gratitudes and stuff. And it's having that open mind, like I say too, I don't really believe in luck anymore. I think bad luck is, it's one of those times you're supposed to sit back and what am I supposed to learn from this? These bad circumstances or coincidences. I hate that word. But like good luck too. I think good luck, it's just blessings. That's just things coming your way, like good karma rolling around.
How about the word luck? Well, and, I've really connected with Recovery Dharma lately. So it's not good luck or bad luck. It's just luck, but I don't like the word luck. This rhymes with you know what. But just a final thought. So here's the question one of the questions out of the workbook, which I love. So if you're looking back at the questions that you did through step 1 and step 2, you listed things that you can control and things that you can't, which is great. Okay. And then it asked you to like, would you be able to move anything from the things you can or can't from the different columns? Can you think of anything? So right now, Mike, I want us to try to think of more things, or we haven't done this before. Just think of things that we can't control and things. So why don't you list 2 things that you can't control and 1 thing that you know that you can? For example, it says, remember, you can control your own actions and attitudes, right? Yeah. So like one thing I especially struggle with, again, is just with how much I have going on and just how much I'm trying to do and accomplish. And I have 5 children running around, 2 roommates, 2 dogs, 2 guinea pigs. Oh my gosh. I have a routine, right? And so, especially now with the added shoveling, oh goodness. But I find myself getting in that controlling state when people leaving stuff out. I'm doing now extra cleaning up the messes and stuff. That's when I really start to get out of my patience, like I start to lose my balance. And so remembering, okay, well, I can choose how I'm going to process the child that left the dishes up in the room for 3 days and now they're nasty, and every single time that I took just that pause and think about, how I'm going to respond, I can control that. So definitely not in the heat of the moment. I'm going to go up there and, yell, or I'm not a yeller, but definitely, I guess I say things a certain way. But processing it in a nice way and saying it in a nice tone, in a nice, especially if I just bring up, I made you a really nice dinner, I mean, I don't even have to do that, but if I get some kickback. So really controlling for me, one of the things like daily that I keep mindful of is I can control how I'm going to engage with anyone. And I wanted to look at, like, I try to look at how I'm engaging with someone is how I'd want someone to engage with me. And when I'm not acting that way, and I know I'd slap myself, I reevaluate. Okay, but we definitely can't control the weather. We definitely, those are easy go-tos. So try to dig deeper. So my can control was deeper. Do you have something that you can control that's a little deeper that, especially where you sit today in your program that you are, mindful of? There's something that you can control or can't control
Yeah,
that
I
comes up.
mean, I've come to accept that there's really very little I can control, right? I mean, it's pretty much all internal is where the extent my control ends. My perspective, my reaction to adversities and things like that, for sure. This too, I mean, you start to look too much into control, especially in reference to other people, and you got to be careful where manipulation comes in too. You want people to act a certain way, but then again, expectations be damned, especially when it's attached to other people in the way that they're supposed to act.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's absolutely so much I can't control. I mean, obviously, the weather was the first thing that jumped to mind. Like I was laughing. You were talking about shoveling earlier. Like I've been limping along the snowblower all winter, and then I put it in the shed, and the way that the snow melted, it froze the shed doors closed under like 3 inches of ice. At this point.
Jeez.
So yeah, last night I was out shoveling after that banquet. I was out till after 11. But like I was grumpy.
Yeah.
I was kind of pissed. I had to stop a couple of times, make sure my heart didn't explode or my lungs just give out on me. But I got done with it, and then I went and I laid in a snowbank and I stared up at the sky and I listened to some Simon and Garfunkel.
I love that.
It's like, that I can control. I'm not going to wrap up the night being grumpy that I had to shovel and I couldn't get the damn snowblower out of the garage. I'm going to consider myself blessed that I have a snowblower that I've gotten to use this far, and that I'm blessed that I'm in good enough shape that I can do it, or I'm blessed that it was nice and quiet when a big storm was done. And like, it's one of the most beautiful things. You get a bunch of snow and like, you ever notice the silence? Yeah. So the thing is, like, apparently snow is like a sound dampening deal. So when you get a bunch of snow and when it's in the middle of the night already, sound doesn't carry nearly as much as it does. So like,
and sometimes like the last snowfall is like big, little, thick snowflakes. They look like little ice cream toppings. And then the other day, it was like it was glittering. It was so beautiful. And I love what you just said because yes, it's the little things. It could just be the little things. Okay. Another comment. Alicia says, I learned that I can't carry things that are too heavy for me. If the situation is weighing heavy on me, I process it immediately. It's such a healthier way to live. Yes. 100%. And especially when I'm doing my reflection at night and I think I've let that shit go. And the next day it comes up again. I'm like, okay, now I need to process it outside of my head, my higher power. Like I need to have a conversation with someone. Okay, we're going to get.
That's that whole first things first on the walls in the room.
And keep it simple. Yeah, and also, the biggest thing with step 3, I was such a thinker all the time in my head, right? So I trained myself. DBT helped a lot, but as soon as I started doing that thinking or any of that, I just action. And, especially when my kids were gone, I couldn't stand to be alone with myself. So I was going to every meeting, anything I could find to not be stuck in my head. But definitely action is key. You can't just talk about it. That was me. I make all these plans. I make all these lists. Oh my gosh, I do all the research. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, well, I did enough. I'm not actually going to freaking do anything. So in step 3, I release who I thought I was. Here's what's beautiful. Let go can be just as simple as this. I release who I thought I was and let go of that image so something else can come in. The moment of surrender is when I allow for the possibility that I can act differently, even though I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And that's when I truly surrendered. I did it angrily, but I'm like, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks or says to me or does to me or whatever. I, in this moment, am going to be this person. And I did not let other people allow them anymore to affect me. And I just started doing the things that I wanted, that I knew I needed to do to get my kids back, to find myself. And that surrender for me was to really I had to stop thinking, period. Literally, I remember being at work. And of course, my head's going into stress of all these things coming up. And I'm like, nope, put the stapler right back over there, fill it up, staple these papers. I started to talk to myself to do the actions. Like that's how I would, Yeah. So, but that's what I'll still do too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Let me get this out of the way.
That reading, because it's kind of like what I was saying right when I got in here, right? Is that the whole like surrender thing? It's just like it sounds. Nobody wants to surrender, right? We fight that. But the thing is, like, you're not surrendering to life. You're not like giving up. You're not giving in. You know, we're not all French. But no, the surrender thing. You know, like I like to think of it as just you're surrendering your old way of thinking. You're surrendering your old perspective. You're surrendering that constant frame of mind. You know, like they talk about surrendering your will and, you know, like I said, the defects and desires and whatnot. But like in that I just have to give a little shout out to my buddy that shared at that banquet last night. And, you know, he's a longtime soldier and he was sharing about his idea of surrender, you know, and like, well, hell, think about that for a soldier. You're ingrained that you never quit. You never give up, right? Like you've got an answer for everything. You've got to go and go and go. And like him getting up there and talking about it and sharing, he gave me goosebumps several times, but it was just beautiful because it's like, yeah, thing is like we have to surrender to start winning, right? But the thing is like we're not like giving up on life, like, oh, I can't do it anymore, I quit. No, you're giving up on your old way of doing things.
Yes.
You know?
And the funny, it's half funny, but it's true. The big book in the steps, it says, the only thing that you have to change is everything.
Yeah, I love that one.
You know, I remember accepting that too, because I'm like, my own way has never worked for me.
Right.
So yeah, let's just change it all. Okay, whatever. I'm going with whatever. So, but what I love about this little clip that I'm going to share, I'm not going to share all of it, but it is 4 minutes. If you go, it's Ben Lionel Scott's page. I'm going to share the clip so you can find the whole thing, but it's Prove Everyone Wrong, motivational speech. And I loved, especially this stuck out to me because that's exactly, I wasn't going out of my way to prove anyone wrong, but really it was more to prove myself right. And seriously, I still had the wolves on my ass. It didn't matter. I remember actually walking in a meeting here. Jason actually was the one who kept me on my path. It was like I was at 3 months. Okay. Actually, it had passed, but I didn't come in. Yes, war zone for sure that first year. And I remember coming in and I'm angry. And also the tears are flowing. I'm angry though, but I'm crying. I came in here to get my medallion because I had just got off the phone with my CPS worker, and just the way it sounded like I took it was she didn't believe me. I missed 1 UA. She was ready to make me, you know, go down another level and amp up all the consequences. And I felt so defeated. Like I wanted to push the F it button. Like, you know what? I'm doing all this. I'm really like every day I'm pushing. And I would just say, forget it, you know? So I came here. I came to this place. I went into the meeting and it was wonderful because, well, the person facilitating at that time, he must not have been in a good mood or whatever. You're not here no more. But he was like, I came in a little late, but you're never late. You're never late to a meeting. Only to your first one. I love that. And I shared, and they let me share. And I was like, I came here just for the medallion. And actually, I didn't even really think about it. They just needed to vent. But he's like, well, you know, definitely we'll get you that medallion next time when you come. And I was like, ew. But luckily, Jason's little butt went out the room. I didn't know what he did. I thought he was going to the bathroom. And I sat back down. But I saw half the room look at me like, dude, that's messed up. Go get her medallion, you know? But anyway, I guess in that moment, I was so fragile. I felt like I vented, but I didn't feel hurt because he was like, now let's get into the reading. But Jason, come back in the room. He's like, hang on. Come up here. And I was like, ah! It was like those little moments. You never know what you do. You never knew that one little thing that you did. Maybe that spot seed that you were working with, you might have planted a seed. You probably planted something, let me tell you. But I tell you, with Marcy, she put up with my shit for 6 years. And it wasn't like I was mean to her, but I definitely disappeared. Right. I definitely didn't follow really good advice or suggestions. Right. But she never gave up on me. And so I would keep crawling back to her, and she was still open arms and hugs me. That's how I smashed her. Okay, so this is Prove Everyone Wrong. Or like I said, just prove yourself right. That's what I did. Okay, here we go.
When everybody is against you or don't believe in you no more. It's a lonely feeling. Oh, it hurts very badly. I know what that's like. They look at you with that look and say, why don't you try something else? Why don't you give up?
Get away from these people that's in your life that ain't doing nothing. Get away from people in your life that's hate. Get away from them. Get away from them. If you take an oak tree seed and you put it in a 2-foot pot, that seed will never become the oak tree that oak trees are capable of becoming. because it's gonna get stifled by the 2-foot pot. Now check this out. Ain't nothing wrong with the seed. Seed just fell prey to the environment. Don't you allow your environment to dictate the oak tree that you become.
Anytime you move from being normal to trying to be exceptional, people aren't going to like that. Those normal people, it makes them feel like they're going to judge you.
And that's why every true leader, they're called weird. They're called eccentric. When you do the things of real leadership, you're going to be called strange. Get strong enough in your own skin that when people laugh at you or when they throw stones at you, you keep on going.
I respect any motherfucker that wakes up every day and work their ass off to live their life and lifestyle. Clubbing, partying, hanging out, that ain't for me. I'm gonna be out here running in the hot sun, practicing. While everybody else is clubbing and hanging out, you got your focus right.
Don't expect people to understand you. Don't expect it to make sense to anybody why you've got to do this, why you have got to go, why you leave. This is a good job. I'm going. They pay you well. I'm going. Why? I don't understand. You don't have to. I'm going for me. This is something I have got to do. How are you going to make it? I don't know, but I will. The universe responds to the man or woman that refuses to be denied, because that is your commitment. That business that you want, that book you want to write, that dream that you have of controlling your destiny, that is yours. That's available to you. But you've got to be willing to stand and face disappointment, not have support, be lonely, doubt yourself sometimes, be rejected again and again and again, become bankrupt if necessary, again and again and again, and refuse to turn around until life gives it up. Life will always be, to a large extent, what you make it, not what circumstances will make of it, not what other people will make of it, not what other people say it will be, not what the environment will try and dictate to you, but what you make of your life. So,
Woo! Oh, I got goosebumps. For real. Dream killers. Oh my gosh. And actually, sciencely, okay, so there's this great brain guy. He shares all kinds of the science facts of neurology and everything. And he had this one guest woman come on, another doctor, and she was saying how some of us in our genes, we're made up to be dream chasers. Okay. We always have ideas, and maybe people call us weird. Okay. I would say me, strange, weird, whatever. But we're born, it's in our roots. It's in our DNA, it's in our soul, in my spirit. And a lot of people were always threatened by me or made fun of me or just wanted to, laugh at me, whatever. And I would take that to heart. Now where it sits today, I use that as fuel. And it wasn't until I really started to understand that a lot of those people, like they said just in this speech, or there's several really great ones in there. A lot of those people, I could finally see that it's something with my lightness that in their darkness, it made them feel insecure. It made them feel like I'm not doing enough. Even people in my recovery doing service work were threatened by me. And that's the thing is, I'm focused on my own bobber, okay? And I need a lot. I'm just a go-go person. And especially like once I really get going in a passion or something I really like, creative and artistic or anything like that, I'm times 10, but that's because that's where I'm at. I don't expect anyone else to be there at all. I'm just happy people show up, honestly. But especially other, like the inner circle people, they're a lot like me. Like we have similar mindsets. My best friends, those ladies, we always have ideas and we're always supporting each other's ideas and we're doing whatever we can, to help support and build them up. So and celebrate each other. So the negative Nancy's, though, there's always those everywhere. But that's what's nice is we unite and we have each other. And in that video, it said sometimes you have to be lonely. And, that's true momentarily. But here's the best part. Now there's virtual meetings, okay? There's the telephones, the texts, the messages. In recovery, especially, I was alone for 17 years. There was no virtual, nothing, okay? I was trapped in my house a lot of times. I was stuck in that pain. But nowadays, especially, you get a phone, get one number. You're not alone. and you don't have to put up with it. And come be, you know, a lot of the people in the recovery rooms, they're weird. We're weird and strange, but I love that. And, yeah, I think, like, you know how they say you're not a unique person. People take that the wrong way. It means we're not unique in the sense of our struggle with addiction, whatever that looks like, right? That's what unites us. But we are unique to the outside world in a sense, like, but everybody is unique. But those are the things that I love about each other people, is how they are different from me. I used to walk in those rooms and it would be negative, like, nope, I didn't do that. I don't think that way. Now I'm like, oh, yep, what you just said, I definitely thought. Maybe a different situation, a different experience, but my mind was definitely in that same place. And yeah, so okay, Mike, sorry. Go ahead, chime in, and then we're gonna get into our last segment, which is my favorite. We still do the memes. Yes, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean that was a great little soundbite there for sure. The only thing I get a little turned off on it too is that I feel like a lot of us live in these self-imposed prisons of, you know, concern over other people's thoughts or opinions on us, right? And that's something I heard early on, is that other people's opinions of me is none of my business. And
Yeah.
I have a hell of a time remembering that sometimes, without a doubt. But, you know, it is one of those things that, like, I am one of those overthinkers, and I have suffered with chronic anxiety my entire life. You know, I'm like, I deal with it a healthy way now, you know, not with narcotics anymore. But, like, the thing is, I mean, yeah, that's that self-imposed prison is that I really worry about. And the thing is, I'm trying to just build a life that, you know, a future that I don't have to recover from. And that's just me versus me for the most part, right? Fighting that self-doubt, those demons, all that negative self-talk. And I mean, that's a battle enough on its own, especially some days, that it can be all encompassing or all consuming, you know. So I love the things they say in there, though. Like, that's one of the things I laugh about. Like, you see somebody walking down the street with, like, their headphones on and they're just dancing and they're just having the time of their life, and it's like, I want to be that person. I mean, as long as they're not high, you know, like, if they're just naturally that happy, I'm like, yeah, I want to emulate
That's
that
me.
person,
I just randomly
right?
dance.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Or sing badly.
right. It's just one of those things. I mean, I can't spend my time being preoccupied or comparing myself to other people, because there's always going to be people that, in my perspective, are doing better or have more, or, you know, and that's where, like, just jealousies and things like that come up from. So, like, I try to keep an eye on my own side of the street, like we joke about, or like the whole Hazelden thing, you know, keep an eye on your own bobber.
Yeah. Well, I like to throw that one out there because it's just funny. I'm not a fisherman. I did grow up fishing and all that, so, but I get it. But okay. See, squirrel moment. I was just gonna say something before the memes. That's all right. Must not have been. Oh, I just shared. Okay. Like, I haven't shared my experience, strength, and hope story in a while. I'm rusty, okay? I didn't realize how rusty I was until Thursday night. Luckily, I had my bestie Sarah with me. Mike, oh my gosh, inner me girl was beating me up that night. Okay? I don't know what happened. So, it taught me a lesson that I need to start doing it more. Okay, because I was fine. Okay, yes, I have anxiety, and yes, I'd still be like, oh, I could do this better, whatever. I literally at the end blanked out and started rambling and just bringing up, I don't know. And all it took was, well, and it was with a Thrive group, and they were wonderful, by the way. They're the supporting, they're the families trying to support us in recovery. And what I love about them is they make a point to invite us to come share our stories, because that gives them hope. And that also gives them, you know, an opportunity to see the ones that have found the good things of recovery and how we did it.
Seeing a different perspective.
So, I was extra nervous. So, it's not my people's.
It's like being at a mad panel or something.
Yes, lots of pairs there. Okay. But it was beautiful because I didn't even realize. They asked me questions afterwards. I didn't even realize. Here's what a lot of people think. This is a myth, Mike. It gets me upset when people are like, well, you know, it got passed down to me. It's hereditary. That's not true. Okay. Yes, there can be a gene. Dr. Gabor Mate talks about this. And whether it's activated in that person or not is based on how they live their life and their environment they grew up in and stuff. But here's what's beautiful to my own example. I have had addiction since 21 years old. Mike, boom, I was activated right away. My twin brother has never had a problem with addiction. Okay, he grew up in the same childhood. Okay, so you know, my story, sometimes I don't really share all the whole depths of my childhood because it's not necessary, right? And I find a lot of people in the recovery are just like, but I had a great childhood, so you're not helping me at all. Connect. But the fact is, and I think my brother got more. He got more of the physical punishment than I did, but we grew up in the exact same household, and we're twins. We're fraternal, so maybe it's different sex, but we definitely came from the same. Okay, my birth mom, I don't know where she's at right now, but I know that the reason she had to give us up was this addiction. Okay, so, and I know that it runs whatever, but again, it is not hereditary. Just because your parents does not mean you're gonna be. Okay, here's another thing. My adopted parents, not addicts. Okay, my dad was a rageaholic, but no substance use. So I kind of like, now I realize my story does add and benefit because it does show it really is how you are. We are unique. We are unique. Okay, so here we go. Meme time. And then, I gotta turn the volume up. Boop. It's my favorite time of the day. Listeners, if you ever want to send me great memes, please do. This does bring my joy when I get to check in. Okay, so we're gonna flash, and the best thing is, if you have a smartphone, you're gonna be able to see them right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll check the comments at the end. We're running out of time. Holy smokes! Okay, we're gonna blast through these. Okay, except for the deeper ones, feel free to give me your thoughts. But definitely, there's one that's been going around with Kermit. Everybody's been I mean, I saw that like 3 days ago. I'm like, this is going to be definitely on my list. But here we go. So this is the last segment of the show. I'm just sharing the memes for whatever reason stuck out to me. And we're just going to review them together, Mike. Live Facebook memes. Okay, Mike. So like Facebook, this is just words. I think you posted. Somebody shared somebody might share it. What does it say?
I got a lot of mileage out of this one this week. Yeah. Saying, me telling myself, I will not be awkward today. I will not be awkward today. I will not be awkward today. Another person saying, hey, and then me saying, good, thanks.
Oh my goodness, that was me.
Yeah, I do that.
I've accepted my awkwardness now, though, and I almost
laugh.
Yes,
right?
And I love people that are awkward too. It's strange. It sounds like I'm like, ooh, I want to be your friend.
Right. That's the thing. Humility is so absolutely imperative in life, right? I mean, it gets too serious, and life can really suck if you can't laugh at yourself. So that's just perfect.
And the best part is, that was the point of my story. Thrive. The best part is, as soon as I got in the car, we're driving home. This is an hour drive because it was a winter storm. I was in my head like, I really effed that up, because the end is when you share your hope. At the end, and I mean, I did share some hope, but I didn't get to I usually have quotes that will come into my head. I did not wrap it up well. I was beating myself up, okay? And Sarah was like, no, you did really great. She's like, yes, at the end I could see you. So Enemy Girl was just really ripping me a new one. So the next morning I realized I was still kind of beating myself up. But here's the best part. I sent a little message to the person that asked me, Pam, to do it. I said, you know what? Thank you so much. Actually, it was really great experience. Actually, that group was so wonderful. I actually wanted to stay and hang out there, but they had to go. But thank you, and I do apologize. I did go over on my time. That's what threw me off, Mike. That's what it was. See, I'm just too much of a perfection. Oh, see, I ran over my time. I panicked, and then I wasn't making sense. Okay, but I said, but thank you, and sorry about the end there, but whatever. She's like, her response was, I love you, Bridge. But that's all I needed to let it go. And now literally I've been able to laugh about it the whole time. But before I wouldn't have let that go. No. I definitely wouldn't be laughing about it. I would be making a new list of what I need to make sure, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm like, I just learned I'm rusty.
That's a good reminder. Don't judge yourself too hard,
And I am a weirdo.
Right.
Oh, this is great. So I love these kind of dad joke ones. So there's the guy with the stepladder. What does it say?
That's the little guy holding onto a ladder and says, this is my step ladder. And I never knew my real ladder.
That's just cute. And it has the steps in there. Okay. Can you see that one okay?
Oh, Jesus. What the?
There's a cat with a pink eye.
Yeah, it's a black cat with like a googly eye. It's like you'd stick out like an arts and crafts or whatever. Said my friend's cat lost his eye in a fight a while back, so he gave him a false one to give his confidence a little boost. Oh, God. Hopefully he doesn't ever look in the mirror.
Oh, maybe he does like it.
Yeah, maybe. That's just creepy. Yeah.
Poor cute little black cat. Oh my goodness. Okay, you see, it doesn't take much to make me laugh hard. Oh, hey, just words. This is, I think, deeper. Mm-hmm.
It's not your job to detox toxic people. It's your job to detox the part of you that resonates with their toxicity. Absolutely.
Ah.
Right. Yeah. It's an inside job, right?
Yes. What's that other thing? What bothers you, especially about someone that you're seeing at a meeting week after week, usually it's something within yourself that there's some truth or unhealed stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
otherwise, yeah, I pay attention to nobody. But yeah, if I really get judgment, if I start to get judgy, then I'm like, uh-oh, it's time to reflect. Step 4. Okay. So there's 2 different seeds, top and bottom. It's like, go ahead and describe it and then read it, top and bottom.
Yeah, I love this one. So it's like a back patio or a deck or something, kind of on a foggy day with some trees surrounding it and just kind of nice and chill looking. And top one says there are 2 types of tired, and then the bottom is one that requires rest and one that requires peace. Oh, love that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to seek more than peace of mind.
Yes. That's where that meditating comes in.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Oh, this was great. Shout out to Katie Schwartz. So let's see. Go ahead and just before you describe the picture, read the little dialogue there.
All right, dialogue first.
Oh, how about you? I'll be person, you be me. No, you be person and I'll be me. Okay.
Okay.
You're the person.
What's it like partying with you?
Well, it's a bit like a merry-go-round.
Oh, that sounds fun.
I'm not finished. It's a merry-go-round on fire. What is that handcuff thing? Do you remember that? When someone's like, "Oh, can you have a drink or you should have one?" And like, "No, I can't. I'm kind of." What does it go like? I'm allergic. Oh yeah, because I'll break out in handcuffs.
Yeah.
This is a nightmare.
Yep.
I love this one. This one was me. I've moved 37 times since I was 17 years old, Mike. Okay. Again, I used to start drinking until I was 21. Okay. But so from 21 to now I've been at my place 4 years. And but anyway, this was my life a lot. Go ahead and read and describe.
Yeah, it's just a scene of like a TV that's on the floor, an air mattress on the floor. It's a couple little things, pretty like bare bones
Shoes,
apartment
pillow.
or room or whatever. Yeah.
Mhm.
It says, sometimes independence and peace start like this. Absolutely.
Yes.
Get rid of the material shit and start figuring out who you are, and if you have less distractions and less of that other stuff to hide behind or to bolster your pride and ego
Distract
and stuff.
yourself.
Right. Keep it
Mhm.
simple. I love camping. That's a great place for me to go out there and just shut
Yes.
it all down.
It's so hard to come back from camping.
Right.
I don't want to go back to people.
Yeah.
I love nature.
Right.
Okay, next one.
It says me when I accept a friend request.
Who is that again? Do you remember?
So that's Pacino, right? No, that's De Niro.
De Niro, yep.
Yeah, that's De Niro. I don't know who he's
Say it in
talking
his
to
voice.
though. I don't know how to do it.
It's in my head in his voice.
It's
Never-
old Bobby De Niro there, and he's talking to somebody who looks maybe younger, but he says, when I accept a friend request, and then he's saying, never report my memes, and stay out of my messenger.
Stay out of my messenger, but we could be friends.
Boundaries, right?
Okay. He says it like his gangster voice, okay. When you accept the friend request, just never report my memes. Stay out of my messenger. Be all right. Okay? Yeah. Otherwise, I'll unfriend your ass. Okay, sorry. This is my favorite one. There's still one more.
It's a little Kermit the Frog, and he's holding a phone. He's holding it in one, he's hugging it in the other picture. But when your sober fam says they are proud of you, and you're doing a great job when he's hugging the phone. Yep.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Because we all know what we're going through, and it means so much more. Some people are lucky, and they do have a good family and friends supporting them throughout, right? That Thrive group, like those people there, touch my heart. Like they're showing up, and they really want to be there for if they're trying, they're making that effort. Okay, and so, but what I love about this, I actually went to my Recovery Dharma meeting, newer guy, and he was saying how like his family. That he lives with his kids and his wife, they don't get it, I mean, okay, but he's also been in it for a while, and so they've kind of given up on him, and I understand that. But here's the thing is, that's when I would celebrate. Like I worked at a job in the city, okay, so I started feeling really good, but I couldn't tell nobody about it. So that's why it's important to have your recovery fam. And those people really, they are my family now because they celebrate me and I can openly like feel that love. And I don't need it from nobody else. Okay.
Well, that's the thing too, right? Like the victories look different in recovery than they maybe do for some of the normies out there, right? And like we're just talking about material possessions and things like that. There's a little bit more meaning and empathy, I think, within our sober families.
Absolutely. Yeah. Last one.
Unconditional love does not mean unconditional acceptance of bad behavior.
Woo
There you go. Yeah.
Boundaries.
Right. There's the boundaries again for sure. Yeah.
Yes, and you have to watch those people. I'm not going to point out family members and friends, but you know, they have known me so well. They know I have that unconditional need to want to help people.
Right.
And especially when I know they're struggling. And so I started to realize once I learned boundaries and going to meetings and surrounding myself with people that really never needed nothing. Just kidding. But they were taking me for granted, taking advantage of my kindness and that was my weakness. And so, you know, she'd screw me over time and time again. But because I knew her childhood, because I knew her struggles, because I loved her so much, I just kept. I wouldn't want to give up on her, and I didn't want to. But at the end of the day, when it was really me, I was drowning. Try to keep her ass up from drowning. And it wasn't a good look when I lost everything that mattered to me. You know, so that's when I realized, okay, I got to keep my cup full, and I can unconditionally love you over here.
Right.
So when you're ready to join recovery, then we'll have a conversation. But yeah, you don't have to keep accepting. And it could be a spouse, okay? It could be a partner. It could be a family member. It could be a friend. But you can. That's why Thrive is fantastic because I consider myself a dual member. Elena is great, but it didn't do it for me. I still love them, but they really have constructive meetings. They really teach how to love well. How love is not just an emotion; love is an action. Oh my God, so wonderful! So they teach like Pam really describes like so boundaries can seem mean, right? Especially when you're a people pleaser or you're just like a caretaker. I thought boundaries that's so mean and so harsh. We're reading a book of boundaries right now, the Bad Mouse Club. Like our first edition, I was like, wow, she seems like a bitch. But that's not true. We listen to the audiobook now, and the way she words it, no, that's what sucks is as a female, you're strong and you set these boundaries or you just have this confidence. A lot of people think you're a bitch. It's not cool.
I'm meant for you.
Exactly. But the best part is, I think, for us now, especially all talking about where we struggle is those partners, those people that know us so well. Well, so you're gonna give up on me? You're just gonna leave me when I need you the most? You know, that's when it's great to have professionals. But the meetings are good too. But it's good that I need a therapist. I need a program. But you do not have to accept any kind of bad behavior. So if anyone is killing your light and making you feel not happy, I mean, there's abuse that's not physical, okay, verbal, emotional, mental, but constantly making you feel like you have to change who you are to make their life better. That can weigh on you. Like, I'm not saying I want to be single forever, but okay, I just say my partner, like, there'll be times when he might need my support or she might need my support or vice versa. And that's, you know, there's going to be those things in life. But when your whole relationship is having to be there for their bad behaviors, that's BS. Okay, sorry. Went on tangent.
No, I get it for sure. I mean, in a partnership, you should be able to lean on each other, but you shouldn't be knocking the other one down, you know? Like, the thing is, like, yeah, that unconditional love, I totally get that. Maybe I should be better about it, but like endorsing people's bad behavior, like if you love somebody, you don't endorse their bullshit, you know, like you call them out on that if you care about somebody. And I know maybe I need to be a little less direct sometimes, or maybe a little bit more empathetic or understanding where people are at. And I think maybe there's been some times where I've rubbed people the wrong way, but I tell you what, if I care about you, you're going to hear what's on my mind. If I think that you're doing some self-sabotage, or if I think that, you know, like, you're trying to spin some bullshit and you're trying to get me to endorse it, I'm going to tell you that, no, I'm not hearing it, you know?
And here's the best thing I've learned in my training, Mike. Ask questions.
Yeah.
That's what Marcy would do. I don't know. She's wise beyond her years. Instead of saying, so you got back together with him again, huh? She wouldn't call me out like that. She would say, oh, okay. So what made you get back together. What happened? How'd that go?
Yeah, right.
She is so wise. So I wouldn't get defensive. I'd be like, oh, well, you know, he said he was sorry and he bought me flowers. And now he's going into counseling. Just, she saw it coming a mile away. But just questions. And I think, Mike, it's easy for you, but to really listen to their answers, okay? That's key. As achievements, oh my God, they'd be asking questions. They didn't want no fucking answer. They wanted to do their check, check, check. So, sorry. Okay, let's end it because I'm getting huffy puffy. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mike, so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate you. This is
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah, I
So-
love these.
That's good reminders. And yeah, let's just get the music out of here so I can stop talking.
Yeah, be good, everyone. Have a good week.
Have a great week, and we'll be checking it next week. I think I got a good guest lined up, but I might be doing some solo shows intentionally.
Okay.
We'll see. I just messed up that story thing, so I think I can do better just with the listeners. Okay, returning home. Good night, everybody.